Hello everybody, Mikey here, or Burns Post like I always say, and today I got another FNAF video for you. Today I have a question for you all. Is FNAF still scary? Like, I know FNAF still has creepy stuff in it, but is it still scary, or was it ever really scary? So today I will be getting into that topic. So I'm going to go off the first 4 Scott games and the first 4 Steel games. Now the reason I'm not including Sister Location, Pizza Sim, and UCM, or FNAF AR, is because it's just too much. Like, if I did compare every game to the new games, it would be too easy to lose the plot of the video, you know? But now that the parameters have been set, let's get into FNAF 1 and FNAF Help Wanted. So I think FNAF 1 and FNAF Help Wanted are two different beasts but the same animal. It's the first of both devs' FNAF games and both really nail the horror factor. I would say FNAF 1 does it a bit more subtly though. For example, the moaning from Chica and Bonnie, the dum-da-da-dums from Foxy, and Freddy's laughter too. While FNAF Help Wanted is more in your face with their spooks, like the Mangle vent repair, the animatronics, and parts and service. Just being up close to the animatronics in Help Wanted is the creep. While FNAF 1, it's more the approach that's scary for the game. So I would say for the first games of the devs gave a great start to the horror. Next up is FNAF 2 and Security Breach. Now I don't have to say Security Breach was a letdown for the community when it came to the horror aspect of the game. And since Security Breach and FNAF 2 are massive gains for each of the devs, I'm going to break this segment down into some certain main points. So the first major point is the atmosphere. Now FNAF 2 and Security Breach have two very different locations, but they both do something different with their locations. The FNAF 2 location is dark, the lights are off. It's so dark that it was the first game to give you an actual flashlight to use against the animatronics. The darkness works great for the characters as well. Take the main hall where you see the characters. Toy Chica, Mangled, Withered Freddy, and Withered Bonnie can appear there. The image of Toy Chica sitting in the dark just staring at the camera is mad creepy, and the fact that she stays to look at you is honestly really chilling. Then there's only being able to see the Withers with the flashlight on the cameras, but seeing the characters in the dark is also really fun. Like, seeing Withered Chica's silhouette in the party room is really chilling. Now compare this to Security Breach, where the location and lighting doesn't really help any of the characters. There's not that many dark areas in the game, so it makes the animatronics walking around look a little silly and goofy, especially when they get stuck on something. So next up is the character themselves. FNAF 2 has Withered Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, plus Golden Freddy 2. They also have Toy Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Mangle, and BB, and of course the puppet. FNAF 2 also has some secret characters like JJ, Shadow Freddy, and Bonnie, and the Endoskeleton. A pretty good roster. Now let's compare that to Security Breach. SB has Glamrock Freddy and Chica, while also having Monty, Roxy, and DJ Music Man, Mini Music Man, and Burn Trap and the Blob and the Endos. SB was also the first game to include human enemies like Vanny and Vanessa. SB also did something different and had the damaged versions of the characters in the same game that they were introduced in. So how am I going to be comparing these? So I'm going to compare the new and shiny characters, so the toys and Glamrocks, then I'll be comparing the damaged characters, like the Withers and the Shatters, and plus Burn Trap just because he fits more like damaged. So first up is the toys versus Glamrocks. So what do they have in common? Well, they both have more of a plastic feel to them compared to the other characters in the series. They're also supposed to be more kid-friendly with having some creepy undertones. However, that's where I think the incommonness ends. I think a good way to compare these two groups is to compare what they did with Chica. Now, I know that may seem odd, but let me cook. So Toy Chica and Glamrock Chica both lose their beaks, but how they lose them is very different. We can only assume that Toy Chica took hers off, while Glamrock Chica got hers kicked off. Now, I know that may not seem important, but it's important because one makes it look more threatening, and the other makes the audience feel bad for them. Toy Chica's missing beak is creepy because it adds more of a mystery to the character, but it also makes her look a little human with some messed up looking teeth. While for Glamrock Chica, it makes her look damaged, but it also makes you feel bad for doing it afterwards. Glamrock Freddy says that his friends and they aren't acting like themselves, so it doesn't make me feel scared of the animatronics anymore, it just makes me feel bad for them. Speaking of, that is a perfect segue into the next topic for this portion of the video. The Withers versus the Shattered. Now I think both of these do good for making us feel bad for the characters. I feel bad for the Withers because you have to remember these are kids trapped in these machines. Then I feel bad for the Shattered because you can actually hear their pain and sorrow. I mean, for Pete's sake, Roxy actually cries. However, the Withers are still scary, and again, I think that's because you don't get to see them walk around. You either see them staring at you or just appearing somewhere. While the Shatters are still just walking around aimlessly just like the normal versions of themselves. Okay, so I'm done comparing Security Breach and FNAF 2. Next up is FNAF 3 and Ruin. So FNAF 3 and Ruin are definitely different from the two games before it. FNAF 3 was more of a personal experience. However, back in the day, some people didn't really think it was all that scary. Myself not being one of them, I'm just a little baby personally. However, Ruin on the other hand was praised for its better gameplay than Security Breach because it was an improvement from the last game. The animatronics were a little scarier now that they weren't just wandering around without a purpose. It put me on the edge of my seat in the beginning of the game, wondering when Monty was going to pop out again. The mix is also a nice inclusion, giving us a genuine threat of keeping the mask on for too long, though the jump scare is a little lackluster. FNAF 3 on the other hand was a little creepy because it was hard to see where Springtrap was. The Phantoms were a nice inclusion too. So I don't have much more to say about FNAF 3 and Ruin just because they were both good and both scary. Lastly is FNAF 4 and Help Wanted 2. These are both return to forms for the devs, Scott going back to a harder version of FNAF 1, while Steel Wool experimenting with more VR stuff. They both have more scares and more ways to creep out the player. Steel Wool remembered that DJ Music Man was a very scary thing from Security Breach, so they brought him back. Just like how Scott remembered that the audio parts of his games were important, so he brought them back for FNAF 4. They both realized that they had to up the fear factor too, so Scott made the FNAF 4 jump scares way worse than the FNAF 3 ones. And then Steel Wool kept the darkness of FNAF Room because they knew it would help make their game creepier and it would help the characters be more creepy. For example, the title screen itself, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Chica, and Roxy all look creepy. However, Circus Baby being in the dark right behind you was so scary. Scared the crap out of me personally when I first played it. They also kind of take a step back from a lore standpoint, but also give some new little lore bits. So, time to answer the question, is FNAF still scary? I would say yes. I think Security Breach gave fans a bit of a bad taste in their mouth when it came to the fear of FNAF. But if you look at the other Steel Wool games, you can clearly see that they know what made FNAF scary, and SP was just a fluke. It was also fun comparing the first 4 Scott games and the first 4 Steel Wool games. Alright guys, that's all for today, but what do you guys think? Is FNAF still scary to you? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching, stay safe out there, and may the stars shine down upon you.